Hi everyone, this is Rachel Wise here again, the CEO of educationandbehavior.com. Thank you for joining me in part 4 of how to motivate your students and get them to listen to you. I encourage you to watch parts 1, 2, and 3 of the series before part 4. Here we will review 9 tips for implementing classroom rules. Tip number 1, post rules where everyone can see them and phrase rules in the positive. I personally like to call them expectations rather than rules, but that is up to you. Examples of classroom rules phrased in the positive include quiet while working, follow class routine, complete assignments, raise hand to ask questions or make comments, stay in your assigned area, and show respect to others. Example, hands and feet to self, use kind words, ask to borrow belongings. For children who have language-based difficulties, post pictures of rules. Talk to your school administrators about resources for obtaining visual aids. If your school does not have any resources for obtaining visual aids, see how to use schedules to improve children's behavior and printable classroom rules with matching visuals for suggestions on creating visuals for your students. Tip number 2, have each child sign a contract in the beginning of the year agreeing to follow the rules. Tip number 3, review your rules every morning until everyone in the class is following them regularly. Go back to reviewing them every morning if any student stops following the rules on a regular basis. Tip number 4, use verbal praise to reinforce rules. An example would be saying something like, "You guys worked so quietly today and completed all your work. Nice job." Also use positive body language at times to show your approval. Tip number 5, when a rule is broken, point to the rule, make eye contact with the student or students who broke the rule, and restate it using a neutral business-like tone. We raise our hands in class. We remain quiet while working, etc. Eliminate the word can, such as can you raise your hand or can you be quiet? It is not up to them. It is a directive from you that they are expected to follow. Some children respond well to a simple visual gesture to remind them of the rule rather than stating it verbally. A visual gesture could be raising your own hand to remind the student to raise his hand, or pointing to the area where the student is supposed to be. Tip number 6, allow students to earn privileges like fun activities for completing work and following class rules. Depending on your class's age, developmental level, frustration tolerance, and ability to sustain attention for long periods of time, you may want to have them work to earn fun activities 2 times a day, like once before lunch and once at the end of the day, rather than just 1 time at the end of the day. Some classes may even benefit from earning fun activities 3 times a day. You have to assess what type of schedule will benefit your classroom. Some ideas for privileges include 15 minutes of talk with peers time, half-hour game time, watching a special video, half-hour of sitting quietly at their desks while doing an activity of their choice, like reading a book of choice or drawing. Pick privileges that work for your classroom. Remind students that they are working towards privileges. We have to remain quiet and complete our work to earn game time, rather than threatening that you will take away privileges, like, if you don't stop talking, you're not going to have game time. This type of negative phrasing leaves more room for students to argue with you and defy you by saying something like, "I wasn't talking, take away game time, I don't care." This type of strategy may be more appropriate for elementary or preschool age children, but you can allow a child of any age or students of any age to work towards earning something they enjoy. For more privilege ideas, check out 18 privilege break ideas to increase student motivation. Tip number 7, don't threaten your students with a different person in authority, like, "Do you want me to call your mother?" or "Am I going to have to get the principal?" This takes away from your authority and tells the child that you need to get someone else because you can't get them to follow the rules or listen to you. Tip number 8, do not yell at your students. People often think that some kids only listen when they get yelled at. It may work in the short term. The child may sit quietly after you yell at him or her, but inside he or she may feel embarrassed, angry, upset, or anxious. When a child feels this way inside, he or she cannot effectively listen and put forth their best effort. Children who are repeatedly yelled at over time could end up with ongoing anxious feelings, making learning and work completion difficult or even impossible. Also, yelling at one child could actually cause anxiety for another child who is doing the right thing. Tip number 9, use logical consequences as much as possible. Logical consequences are consequences that directly coincide with the broken rule or inappropriate behavior. For example, if your student throws pens on the floor, a logical consequence would be to have him pick up the pens. An illogical consequence would be to take away recess while you pick up the pens. Children who are angry or in the middle of a tantrum probably will not pick up the items right away. If this is the case, wait until the child is calm and then tell him or her to pick up the pens. If the items thrown on the floor present a trip hazard for other students, move them over so they're out of the way, but still have the student pick them up once he or she is calm. Make sure he picks them up before joining a fun activity. You could say something like, pick up the pens, and then you can join game time. Here is another example of using logical consequences. Two students are talking during language arts and not working on their writing assignment. You point to and restate your class rules, quiet while working, and complete assignments. The students continue to talk. You ask the students if they need help with the assignment. They say no and still continue to talk. You go over to them and ensure they understand the task and are capable of completing it. You ask them to get started and they still continue to talk. Here are some scenarios of imposing logical consequences. Scenario 1. You tell the students that if they continue to talk, you will separate them. The students stop talking and return to their work. Scenario number 2. Even after telling the students that you will separate them, they continue to talk. As a result, you separate them. Scenario number 3. When language arts is over, you notice these two students did not complete their assignment. You tell them that they need to complete the assignment when the rest of the class is participating in one of the earned privileges. Once the assignment is completed, they can join the rest of the group. You may need to send the students to a quieter location in the building, and they should be separated in that quiet location. To complete the assignment, if the rest of your class is engaged in a noisy activity such as talk to peers time. For a related article, see how to use natural and logical consequences to improve children's behavior. Thank you for watching parts 1 to 4 of the series, How to Motivate Your Students and Get Them to Listen to You. This is Rachel Wise, certified school psychologist, licensed behavior specialist, and CEO of educationandbehavior.com. Comment below and let me know what you think of this presentation. I would love for you to add your own classroom management tips as well.